Srivastava. Let's get started. Let's begin first with the top stories that we're tracking in Sunday's edition. In a major boost to security forces in fight against the left-wing extremism, 31 Maoists were shot dead by security forces in a forest along Narayanpur-Dantewada border in Chhattisgarh on Saturday. The encounter broke out on Saturday afternoon in the forests in Bosnia region. In fact, the hunt is on for few remaining Maoists who have retreated deeper into the forest. The bodies of slain Maoists were in fact later brought to the Dantewada police lines. The security officials recovered large number of arms and ammunition from the Maoists, including LMG rifle, AK-47, ANSAS rifle and 303 rifle, among other weapons.
और बस्तर संभाग के अंतर्गत कुल अब तक 71 डेड बॉडीज रिकवर की गई थी। जून से लेकर आज दिनांक तक देखे जाए तो मानसून ऑपरेशंस में 71 डेड बॉडीज रिकवर की गई थी। नदी नाला काफ़ी उफान में है। इसके बावजूद सुरक्षा बल के हमारा सभी बल सदस्य के मनोबल काफ़ी मजबूत है। उसी के परिणाम काफ़ी हमको सकारात्मक रूप से देखने मिल रहा है। निश्चित रूप से इस चुनौती का हम लोग मजबूती से आगे ले जाएगा और क्षेत्र की जनता की इच्छानुसार और शासन के मनसानुरूप नक्सल गतिविधि को समाप्त करके इलाके में शांति व्यवस्था स्थापित करने में हम सफल होगा।
An 11-year-old girl in West Bengal's Kripa Khali was abducted, raped and murdered while she was returning home from a tuition class. The horrific incident came to light after the BJP leader Amit Malviya shared a post about the incident on social media platform. The BJP even launched a scathing attack on the West Bengal Chief Minister and a government, saying that she has no legal or moral right to stay in her position. Taking a swipe at the state's Chief Minister, Malviya said, during Durga Puja, as West Bengal celebrates Devi Shakti, women and girls are unsafe. Unlike Asur Shaktis, the helm of state's affairs are not defeated. Crimes against women would continue unabated. The incident has sent shockwaves across South 24 Parganas and massive protests have even broken out in the town. A day after the protesting junior doctors in West Bengal called off their total cease work, they announced an indefinite hunger strike on Saturday, claiming that their demands have not been fulfilled by the state government. In fact, after a rally on Friday, the doctors began a sit-in protest, setting a 24-hour deadline for Mamata Banerjee government to fulfill their demands as promised. After the completion of the deadline, the protesting doctors have announced that 6 doctors, 3 male and 3 female, would begin the hunger strike. In a veiled attack on Prime Minister Modi, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi on Saturday said that there is no use of bowing before Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. The leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha also reiterated Congress party's promise to remove a 50% cap on reservation if voted to power, while also alleging that history of Dalits and other backward classes was not being taught in schools anymore. Speaking at the Samvidhan Samman Sammelan in Kolkata, Rahul Gandhi held up a copy of the Constitution book, calling it a symbol of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's ideas. Rahul further said that there are 2 ideologies in the country, one which protects the Constitution, that talks of equality and unity. This is Shivaji Maharaj's ideology. And the second ideology is the one that is into destroying the Constitution. In fact, this is not Rahul Gandhi's second visit to the western Maharashtra area in a month ahead of assembly elections due in the month of November this year. The flood situation has wrought havoc across all 5 districts of Garo Hills in Meghalaya that has killed 10 people, with South and West Garo Hills bearing the brunt of devastation. The flood that's been triggered by incessant rains since Friday midnight has severely impacted the Dalu area of the West Garo Hills and the Gaswapara in South Garo Hills, where bridges have been washed away. Meghalaya Chief Minister Conrad Sangma even chaired a review meeting on Saturday. The National Disaster Response Force has been deployed to carry out search and rescue operations in the most severely hit areas. In fact, road connectivity between Dalu and Bagmara has been disrupted by multiple landslides. The images of devastation were also shared by Chief Minister's office on social media platform. Well, let's now move on to a business segment. Let's take a look at the business stories that we're tracking in Sunday's edition. The Public Accounts Committee of Parliament has invited Madhabi Puri, Butch, chairperson of SEBI, to address ongoing controversies that have been stemming from allegations by Hindenburg. The PAC that's responsible for reviewing India's regulatory bodies has scheduled a meeting for 24th of October, where SEBI officials and representatives from the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, which is the TRAI, will provide testimony. Officials from the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Communications are also expected to attend. In fact, while it is common for senior officials to represent the chairpersons, it is generally anticipated that heads of institutions appear in person for important discussions. The centre will issue 65% fund for Chennai Metro Phase 2 project, which is projected to cost more than 45,000 crore rupees, according to a statement from the Ministry of Finance. The Union Cabinet has approved the construction of these corridors under Phase 2, which with an estimated cost of more than 63,000 crore rupees. The amount the centre will distribute, it said that the centre will distribute more than 41,000 crore, which includes a loan of 33,590 crore rupees and 7,425 crore for equity and subordinate debt. In fact, the remaining 35% of the funding will come from the Tamil Nadu government. Swiggy has officially launched its bulk order fleet called XL to handle large deliveries efficiently. In fact, this launch follows the introduction of a 10-minute meal and beverage delivery service named Bolt. The XL fleet has been in a pilot phase for several weeks before its formal launch in Gurugram that coincided with Haryana Assembly elections. In fact, to celebrate its debut, the Swiggy XL fleet delivered 3,500 meals to electoral officials at over 580 polling booths in Gurugram and Badshahpur constituencies at no cost to the district administration. The national business head of Swiggy Food Marketplace stated that their services are helping to grow food and beverage sector in India by promoting new consumption occasions and expanding their customer base in the country. Indigo Airlines experienced a major system-wide outage that disrupted flight operations across its network. Many flights even faced delays and ground services were also affected. Several passengers were left stranded at various airports. Due to this issue, passengers even reported significant delays on getting their tickets and boarding passes. While Indigo confirmed issues with the boarding process, the airline has now acknowledged the outage and assured passengers that the ground staff would provide necessary assistance and that the issue would be resolved at the earliest. In fact, note, this is the second outage to have happened this year, following a Microsoft bug in June that caused widespread disruptions in various industries across the country. The National Stock Exchange is set to proceed with its long-awaited IPO after finalizing 643 crore rupee settlement with SEBI. This settlement, the largest in SEBI's history, which resolves allegations related to misuse of NSE's trading access point system. This significant settlement clears a major regulatory hurdle for the NSE, allowing it to advance with its highly anticipated IPO. The exchange is aimed at the launch of its public offering since 2016, is now facing legal issues regarding both the TAP case and a high-profile co-location scam that's resolved. It can now set it is to move forward henceforth. The European Union has decided to implement significant tariffs on electric vehicles which are made in China. In fact, this move is expected to have major global economic implications. The decision comes after a vote among EU member states and is part of an escalating trade dispute between Brussels and Beijing, which marks the largest trade conflict between the two sides in over a decade. The new tariffs, which can go up to as much as 45%, aim to counter what the European Commission considers unfair subsidies from the Chinese government that allow local lawmakers to flood the European market with low-cost EVs. In fact, despite opposition from Germany, the largest economy in the European Union, the necessary support was gathered to move forward with the tariffs, which will be effective for 5 years starting next month. The parent company of Mamata has clarified that it does not own any assets in UAE. The statement comes amid a legal dispute with RSM General Trading LLC, which is a former distributor of Mamata products in the Middle East region. In fact, the clarification follows a regulatory disclosure revealing that a Dubai court had previously upheld a decision to attach the company's UAE assets. However, Hunasa stated that the attachment order would not affect them as they do not have any asset in UAE. The statement was confirmed. In fact, the HSM even sought a precautionary attachment on the company's assets, but there are no assets in the UAE to be attached. And in Sunday's edition of Quick Morning, let's take a look at the international stories that we are tracking this morning. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has criticized French President Emmanuel Macron for suggesting a halt on arms sales to Israel for use in Gaza. In fact, Netanyahu said that Israel would win with or without their support. This reaction of him comes after Macron's statement saying that Israel must stop killing babies and women in Gaza region, that there was no justification for the bombing, saying a ceasefire would benefit Israel in coming days.
As Israel fights the forces of barbarism led by Iran, all civilized countries should be standing firmly by Israel's side. Yet President Macron and some other Western leaders are now calling for an arms embargo against Israel. Shame on them. Is Iran imposing an arms embargo on Hezbollah, on Houthis, on Hamas, and on its other proxies? Of course not. The axis of terror stands together. But countries who supposedly oppose this terror axis call for an arms embargo on Israel. What a disgrace. Well, let me tell you this. Israel will win with or without their support.
Meanwhile, explosions lit up the night sky over Beirut as Israel expanded its bombardment in Lebanon. Powerful new and consecutive explosions rocked Beirut's southern suburbs late Saturday. A series of strong explosions were reported near midnight after Israel's military called on residents to evacuate some areas and buildings. At least 1400 Lebanese, which included civilians, medics and Hezbollah fighters, have been killed, and 1.2 million people have been driven from their homes in just less than 2 weeks after Israel launched strikes in Lebanon. Former US President and Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump said that Israel should hit Iran's nuclear sites and worry about the rest later. Trump also criticized President Joe Biden's comments, saying that he will not support an Israeli attack on sites related to Iran's nuclear program. Trump even responded, saying that the answer should have been hit the nuclear first and worry about the rest later. In North Carolina, Trump spoke with a military-heavy audience about issues from immigration and hurricane relief to even veteran affairs and international relations. Donald Trump also took several questions from the people, all of whom had some connection with the US military.
Think about Iran. Would you hit Iran? And he goes, as long as they don't hit the nuclear stuff. That's the thing you want to hit, right? I said, I think he's got that one wrong. Isn't that what you're supposed to hit? I mean, it's the biggest risk we have. Nuclear weapons, the power of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. You know, I rebuilt the entire military, jets, everything. I built it, including nuclear, and I hated to build the nuclear, but I got to know firsthand the power of that stuff, and I'll tell you what, we have to be totally prepared. We have to be absolutely prepared.
Thousands of protesters demonstrated peacefully in Paris on Saturday in a show of solidarity with the Palestinian and Lebanese people. Many waved Palestinian flags, holding posters reading "Stop the Genocide, Free Palestine" and "Hands Off Lebanon." Similarly, in Greece, about 1,000 people marched to the Israeli embassy in Athens, protesting the country's operations in Gaza and Lebanon. In Athens, protesters gathered at a park near the US embassy and marched 3 kilometers to the well-guarded Israeli compound. Similar protests were even staged in several other parts in the region. In fact, in London, thousands of pro-Palestinian demonstrators took to streets to call for a ceasefire ahead of the first anniversary of Israel-Hamas war. Scuffles broke out as police officers pushed back activists trying to get past the police vehicle. The London Metropolitan Police also arrested 2 people in connection with the protest.
We're here demonstrating against the imperialist intervention in the Middle East. But most of all, that we are 1 year after the invasion of Israel in Gaza and the genocide that they are conducting there. Now they're exporting their brutality in Lebanon. We have to stop them. We have to raise our voice against Zionism, imperialism, and the policy of genocide. No more dead children and women in Middle East.
Israeli Defense Forces carried out a series of airstrikes in eastern Lebanon, leaving a huge trail of destruction in targeted buildings. The historic ancient city of Baalbek was hit by strike and buildings were hugely destroyed while others were flattened to the ground. Israel has begun its ground incursion into Lebanon against the Hezbollah terror group. According to the Israeli military, 9 IDF soldiers have died in the conflict in southern Lebanon region. Israel and Hezbollah have traded fire across Lebanon border almost daily since the day after Hamas cross-border attack on 7th of October last year, which killed 1,200 Israelis and took 250 others hostage. As Israel-Hamas war reaches the one-year mark, more than 41,000 Palestinians have been killed in the territory. According to Lebanese Health Ministry, nearly 2,000 people have been killed in Lebanon since the month of September. Meanwhile, Lebanon Foreign Minister also said that Lebanon was still asking for a ceasefire and a diplomatic solution, despite the Israeli onslaught and assassination of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah.
A lot of countries are helping us, supporting Lebanon, but it's not enough because Israel is hitting Lebanon every day and night. They are destroying Beirut. They already destroyed a lot of villages in the south. They already killed 2,000 civilians. We have 10,000 injured people, 1,200,000 of displaced people inside Lebanon.
Israeli President Isaac Herzog addressed the nation on Saturday ahead of the first anniversary of 7th of October attack. He said, and I quote, "In many senses, we are all still living in the aftermath of 7th of October attack, citing the rise of anti-Semitism around the world and the threat by Iran and its terror proxies, further saying that, and I quote, "We are the people with power to keep standing up again and again against hatred." Israel and Iran-affiliated Palestinian terror group Hamas are engaged in all-out armed conflict since the day after Hamas cross-border attack on 7th of October last year, which killed 1,200 Israelis and took 250 others hostage. As Israel-Hamas war reaches the one-year mark, more than 41,000 Palestinians have been killed in the territory.
Our wounds still cannot fully heal because they are ongoing, because hostages are still being tortured, executed, and dying in captivity, because they and their families are still living in the loss and the terror of October 7th right at these very moments, because tens of thousands of families still cannot return home. In many senses, we're all still living the aftermath of October 7th.
Clashes broke out between supporters of Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan and security forces in Islamabad. Security forces even used tear gas shells against protesters in the area close to several key government buildings, which included the Parliament building and the top court. The protesters responded with stone pelting at the police personnel. As of now, cell phone services have been suspended in Islamabad as it entered the second day of lockdown amid thwarting the rallies in support of Imran Khan. In fact, Khan's PTI also said that it is planning to hold a rally in Lahore. Thousands of people have continued to cross on foot through the main Masna border crossing from Lebanon into Syria after Israeli airstrikes cut off the road leading up to it. Nearly 375,000 people have crossed from Lebanon into Syria, fleeing Israeli bombardment in less than 2 weeks. The government's crisis management unit cited figures from Lebanese General Security saying that more than 370,000 people, Lebanese citizens and Syrians living in Lebanon, have crossed into Syria since September 23, when Israel intensified its air bombardment campaign in Lebanon. Israel had begun a ground incursion on Tuesday into Lebanon against the Hezbollah terror group. The Israeli military said that 9 soldiers have died in the conflict in southern Lebanon region. Rescue teams on Saturday searched for those who are still said to be missing after flash floods and landslides in parts of Bosnia, killing at least 16 people. Construction machines were also deployed to remove piles of rocks and debris covering the central town after the rainstorm. Heavy rainfall lashed Jablanka and northern town of nearby town region, causing sudden floods that broke into people's homes. Surging water also triggered landslides that collapsed roads and hills, resulting in covering villages in mud. This summer, the Balkans were also hit by long-lasting record temperature causing a drought. Scientists said that the dried-out land has hampered the absorption of flood water in the region. And time to slip in a very short break. When we come back, we'll get you all the action that you're tracking from the world of sports and entertainment.